how it relates to our work. Because sometimes we have this feeling that our work is to do the standards. But then once we do the standards, we don't know in which infrastructure that do they fall. The structural function of those standards is within the quality infrastructure. How does it relate with the standards you are doing? How will the standards influence that quality infrastructure, or vice versa? So I think at least now we understand, and we can foresee a situation where in the next meetings, those presentations and discussions will be more lively, will be more informed, and will be focused on changing the structures back at home. I don't want to be acting like the person summarizing everything, but I think the reports that we shall be having will summarize that. I take this opportunity to welcome the chairperson. For those who are not here, the chairperson of the THC had some commitments which made a deal of it. But we had an equally able chairperson who took over, and he will give us a brief of what we have achieved as the THC, so that we see from his own perspective whether he was working with a cooperative team or it was a team that is very uncooperative. I don't know the kind of the right words to use. The chairperson is.
Thank you very much, the Central Secretariat. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize that everybody here in your different capacities of your portfolios, with all protocols observed, you are recognized with your presence. You have already been welcomed. The current interim chairperson for THC. And I must admit that over the past 4 to 5 days, we've really achieved a lot. I've been working with a very cooperative team, and that team has really also contributed a lot towards the discussions, towards the deliberations, and also towards the output. Most importantly, towards the deliverables that we have achieved here. Maybe let me very briefly emphasize that the recognition for the use of African traditional medicine cannot go unnoticed. In the whole of Africa and the African continent at large, the African traditional medicinal plants, or briefly put ATM, is the main healthcare system for over 80% of the population in Africa. They all depend on traditional healthcare remedies. With that in mind, there is need and realization that we need to have standards. We need to have standards that will control both the use of all these medicinal plants. We must also understand that the medicinal plants they represent an untapped economic resource across the continent. If you look at the continent, you might think Africa is a poor continent. It is not a poor continent. It's just that it contains a lot of untapped green diamonds called medicinal plants. So with this realization in mind, there is a need to set up standards. And there are different standards that need to be established, standards that concentrate on, one, primarily the terminologies that are used in the traditional healthcare system, so that anybody who looks at documents that have been constituted dealing with African traditional medicine, they can have an insight as to the different terminologies that deal with the practices, the different terminologies that deal with the medicinal plants themselves. So there was need to establish a document on terms and terminologies and set draft standards on those. I would like to report that during this sitting, we were able to promote our documents to a level of draft standards on terms and terminologies. We also worked on guidelines for agricultural and collection practices. We produced a document on that, and that document is also at the draft stage. We also produced a document on certification procedures. That document is also at the level of draft African standards. And in addition to those standards, We also produce documents on monographs. I must say that this has been a monumental achievement, both at the level of establishing standards and also establishing standards for the monographs. Just to give you an insight into the number of the draft standards we produce 5 draft documents for the standards, including certification schemes for medicinal plants. We also have draft standard for minimum requirements for registration. It is very important that we produce standards for registration of these remedies because they do have a lot of impact in terms of trade as well as in our country's economies. They also do have a lot of impact in how they can improve the lives of the small micro-enterprise families. So with this in mind, I think also found it fit to establish a technical committee that will look into the harmonization of these African standards. And it was established at the right time when we are in this era of recognizing the decade of African traditional medicine. So rightly put, this is the right time when we should come up with these standards, which are long overdue. And I think it's really a great achievement for ORSA, and it's a great achievement for this technical committee. Now, coming to the other outcomes, the outputs which were achieved as a committee, we were able to produce the committee documents for the monographs of selected medicinal plants. And these medicinal plants were selected on the basis of the widespread use across the continent. On that aspect, we were able to produce 5 working committee documents, which will be given to the committee to go through that, and then will be promoted into draft African standards document. And I think, Secretary General, that is a really huge monumental achievement for this committee. In addition to the documents which are produced, we have also been taken through presentations, a training program by Buito here on national quality systems. We have learned a lot as the Central Secretariat has already covered it. And on those, we have learned aspects of processes that relate to certification, processes that relate to accreditation procedures, and even processes that relate to compliance. We're able to learn the differences that as to the reporting structures that are involved in this logistics of how you can produce an accredited body and the different processes that are involved in those levels of processing the national quality assurance systems. So I think I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate the contributions of all the member states in this work. We were also able to take a visit to the Mauritius Bureau of Standards. We were very much impressed. We were able to take an opportunity to go to Amina's lab. We were extremely impressed by the level of high standards that is maintained in those laboratories. I remember one of my colleagues was even saying that if he was the accrediting body, he would immediately accredit that lab without even looking at the other thing. And I think that really on itself gives the reflection on the level of seriousness and the professionalism that has been involved in the processes of, first of all, initiating the establishment of such a facility. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to thank all of you for the support that you are giving to this, the sponsors. I would like to take this opportunity to really say we appreciate the monumental efforts that you are putting in developing these initiatives, and we also have to make sure that we put energies so that we don't disappoint sponsors. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ruben, for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. So, ladies and gentlemen, all was observed. First of all, I think I would like to say that I am indeed highly privileged to have been involved in this project. I think this project, the chair has just mentioned the benefits of working with medicinal plants. I think we all know this. All major organizations dealing with health issues are increasingly harping on the need to add value to medicinal plants, because not only, as he has rightly pointed out, over 80% of the world population depend on medicinal plants. And if you go to Africa, of course, this is very, very true. Now, I think this project goes beyond the health issues. I think this project is targeting a very important component, which is trade. Now, many African countries, post-independence, there has always been North and South trade. Most Africans tend to go to look elsewhere. But I think this project will give a fantastic opportunity for trade to happen intra-Africa. And I think the training that BIA has given has shown the importance of speaking to ourselves. So far, the barriers have been very, very high, very, very strong between African countries. So I think if we learn to implement these standards, and if all countries adopt this standard and make it law, because you cannot have standards operation until actually it's incorporated in the law. I think here we'll make a plea to the Standards Bureau to speak to the relevant bodies locally, so that this become, of course, a very important key component into addressing this issue. And I think if we all adopt, all the adhering countries, the member countries of ORSA, accept these norms, we will actually be making a huge leap forward, because not only will we be addressing the trade issue, we will also be targeting quality standards for medicinal plants. And I think through these two processes, we will see emerging a whole new industry for the continent, and of course address the needs of the people of the continent, and also making a commodity that we can sell to the outer world. Because African traditional medicine, medicinal part of Africa, have not been valued to the right perspectives, because the market so far is inundated with Asian products, Australian, and to some extent American products. So there is an opportunity here, and I think now is the time to seize this opportunity to make our biodiversity work for ourselves. So beyond this, I think we just hope that we will keep on working on this. And I think as these standards have been developed kind of silos, so I think each country can run away with whatever is appropriate for them to work with these standards. And let us hope that these will actually create new ventures. And at the level of Mauritius, with the setup that we have at the Biopark in Mauritius, we are hoping to be able to be a major player in this sector. So thank you very much for this.
By the TBT EU ACP program. This program is based in Brussels and mostly deals with competitive and export markets. This was a very specific case and very interesting one, where actually, and the first one where actually we were supporting the definition of standards that are probably the base for any trade and exports, often neglected in developing countries. We're very proud to work with the entire Pan-African quality infrastructure. We have programs with any of those organizations. ORSA was actually the first one to submit the budget to ourselves, and this was actually one of the first standards we've been able to launch around 1 year ago. We're very happy that it all went on and went well. In terms of results achieved, I'm very happy to hear that the standards that were set and that were prepared on paper were then discussed and agreed among the countries that were present in here. Of course, then the key point would be going back home and not forgetting of what's been done here. That's been one of the main issues of all developing cooperation projects. People then go back to their standard activities, their offices, their desks, and their daily tasks, and what has been maybe done and achieved into an external action may tend to be forgotten. This doesn't have to happen. That's the first point. Only if those standards become a reality also at national level, the effect of having it at a continental level is achieved. Having said all that, and having discussed it with Hermogène in the past, we would be very happy to keep on sponsoring this initiative in the near future. Probably in the future structure of, let's call it, a second phase of this activity. We will include a number of piloting, of testing of those standards among healers, among producers, with laboratories, with labs that can be involved. This will be part of our project preparation. I will do this together with Hermogen, and you will be, of course, duly informed when all that will be finalized and completed. Of course, don't forget that all needs to go through the approval of my team, first of all, of European Commission, second point. Then it won't be tomorrow, and it won't be, cannot be sure 100% just because I had a positive appreciation during the meeting. But we will do all our efforts to go ahead with this, and we definitely appreciate the importance of the work that was carried out. Thanks for having been here all these 5 days, and hope to meet you again in another occasion.
I'd like to say we have to standardize, first of all, the name of the bureau, standardization. So taking note that it's we are the only one who should standards bureau, for others also afterwards. I've heard from the chair that a lot has been done in terms of the standard, and I've heard of certification, etc. And I took from Amina also the legal aspect. I would say that in my opening remark, I said it is very important to have standard. And now we have the standard developed. Then we have a lot to go to be able to go forward. Standardization is not only standard development. We have a lot to do around standard development. First good thing is that we have African countries coming up with a harmonized standard. And being stakeholder, it will be easier for us to adopt it. At the level of the Bureau, we have Bureau committees. We are going to adopt those standards, and of course, the standard is voluntary. And to get the legal aspect of it, we need to make it a tier of technical regulation. So unfortunately, we don't have a Ministry of Health here, but the Ministry of Industry will try to convince the Ministry of Health to see how we can have those standards, first of all, becoming voluntary standard at the level of the Bureau, with all stakeholders on our committee agreeing to the standard. Let's hope there won't be a lot of discussion, because despite having also harmonized standard, it can be that in individual countries you have some stakeholders not agreeing to some of the points that have been discussed. I would say that also have still a work, the chair, the committee has a work, to take into account what we will receive from our countries in terms of comment, in terms of change, addition. If it is justified, we have to take on board all those, because this is the only mechanism we will have to facilitate trade. Because from Amina we took it that we don't want any barrier to trade. So this standard is going to be gazetted. I'm sure we will get comment from other parts of the world on our standard, because Asian countries being a bit ahead, like we said, in this area. So we have to take into account that this is not the final. We have a harmonized African standard. We have to move ahead. Apart from the legal perspective, there is a lot to be done in terms of conformity assessment. I've heard from the chair that we have something drafted in terms of the certification. And of course, we have the laboratories from Amina, from MSP side. We will not duplicate in Mauritius, and I'm sure we are not going to duplicate in other countries. So we need to see what is available in the countries, the respective countries, whatever we can do so that all what is required as parameters in those standards, we can use the facilities to the optimum. So this is something we are going to do. Mr. Badu has given training, I'm sure, on accreditation to get recognition of our testing, so I'm sure we'll move to accreditation. And now looking at the sponsors, I'm sure there's a lot of things which you could do to help us move ahead. And apart from that, we talk of certification, we have training, certification, we talk of assessors, of auditors. So there is still capacity building to be done. So with those words, I would say that as Director of the Bureau, I will take full commitment, like I said from the first day, that I will give all the support necessary to make it happen, because this is just the beginning. And when we go back to our countries,
here in Ocean. We need to take whatever has been discussed and make it happen. And it's only going to happen if the representative here will take the initiative. Otherwise, it will be in files. We are African countries, we know what happened, but each and every individual will have to take their responsibility to make it move ahead. Go to your Director General, tell them what has happened, because they have sent you here and they will not know what has happened if you just prepare a small report and put it in a file. You need to make it happen. So with those words, I say again, congratulations on what you have been doing, and let's hope to meet again to bring new things to this initiative. Thank you.
Robert, Sir and Technical Director also. Actually, I am very happy indeed. Although I am usually happy, but I am very happy this time. Why I am very happy, you remember the chair suffering of stomachache from the first day. And now it's really healthy and kicking because of some Mauritius traditional plants that they brought to him. A friend, I don't see him here, brought something and told him, just drink this and tell me tomorrow. Yeah, it's a fact that...
It's a fact.
Yeah. We are now starting to collaborate, Mauritius with Botswana, and trade can happen. Yeah, you can go and tell our brothers in Botswana that if you have a stomachache, there is something in Mauritius. Ladies and gentlemen, Director General, Mauritius Standard Bureau, our sponsor from European Union, ACPTBT project, Giuliano, our lead expert, Amina, and Udo, experts, the media, the work that was done by the Technical Harmonization Committee here is recommended. Is recommendable in different ways. The outcomes, outputs that were proposed during the project proposal were achieved. I can say that 85%. We had planned to have 7 standards at the level of draft African standards. Now we have 5 standards at draft African standards. We have planned to have monograph, and now actually indeed a big achievement. They are no more monograph, they are committee draft standards. I think the committee deserves a huge appreciation. I can't recall the names of those plants, but there are 5 plants. When I was sitting following the committee work, they were telling me what they cure, and it's so amazing. Maybe the people should look at those plants later. This is a huge achievement because they are plants from our continent, they are plants that we use, and we are the leading people to do it. We have 15 countries in this Technical Harmonization Committee coming from different regional economical community, SADC, East Africa Community, COMESA, ECOWAS. These 15 countries, Botswana, South Africa, Zambia, Mauritius, Tanzania, Gabon, Rwanda, Burkina Faso, Republic Democratic du Congo, Senegal, Ethiopia, Kenya, Ghana, Egypt, and Sudan. If we take the lead, even ourselves, we can change the whole continent on this traditional medicine. Taking the lead is not just developing the documents, it's about implementation, and the speakers here with me emphasizing on that. You go back home, the first thing you know, we agreed this goes to public review. They will be on the website for 2 months for commenting on the draft African standard. You go back home with the committee draft, you tell the Bureau of Standards to allow you to sit in the committee to discuss this standard. You go back home, you start thinking about the certification mechanism, thinking about stakeholders' involvement. And the good thing in traditional medicine, we are all stakeholders. Call the practitioners and call the people using this traditional medicine. It's really a key. We talked about the next phase. The next phase, under Giuliano, because of the reason, as they said, that is not the one deciding 100%, yeah. But when it's a good proposal, I always believe the support gonna be there, okay? And it will be there, I trust, because it's a good proposal. It's about implementation. It's about moving forward. Use these standards that will be heavy, and these standards, after 2 months, they will move to final draft standards that will be approved by the Council of African Organization for Standardization in August during the General Assembly in Ethiopia. Then, in the next phase, we can start building the capacity within the countries. Those countries will be selected competitively. They will be selected competitively. It's mean the work starts now. If you want to be one of those countries for implementation, the work starts now. Yeah, to show the level of commitment within your country. We are planning to have at least 3 countries for implementation. Yeah. Think about that. Lastly, we need laboratories. We need to improve on testing if we are looking about also certification, later for product certification. Think about that and start also approaching our respective government. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been here for 5 days, and I know how tired you are. And we couldn't even get 1 minute to go on the beach and appreciate the beauty of Mauritius. I would stop here by thanking all of you who have contributed. Yeah, clinical, intelligent, the mood that was here, the ropes, the chair, you did well. Amanda also did well before she left. The consensus mechanism of standardization that has been shown here. Good spirit of technical people. If you are not here technical expert, yeah, this committee can't work. Yeah. The European Union will give us money, but we will not know how to use it. Yeah, it's about you. I thank the sponsor also that made this happen, and we worked throughout together in this project. I approved the experts that you see here, which is actually different on the previous project that we had in the past on African continent, where you are given experts without knowing who they are. I had meetings. Amina had to fly in the General Assembly in Kigali Not just I wanted to see her face, but to see her knowledge. And I said, yeah, this is the expert that we can use. Budo is a long friend. We know each other for long. The time I was an expert myself for Rwanda. Yeah, we know each other, and he's my friend, and surprisingly I saw the name of Budo at that time. I thought maybe, yeah, it's a coincidence that is following me. We thank you for your expertise. I take this opportunity to thank the Director General, Rashida. We saw how she had so many meetings yesterday during our visit, but she made sure she's there to receive us. She made sure to come for opening and closing on behalf of the government. Thank you a lot for that collaboration. It's not just because Mauritius is a member of PARISO that she can leave the work and come here. It's because she really loves the work that we are doing. The media, I thank you for coming here. I love the media, the press, because if you don't give the news out, yeah, people will not know. Yeah, if they are positive, of course, so many times. That's what we like. I thank interpreters who sometimes become also experts because of the way they did their job. They are so professional and they helped a lot. I will not end without thanking Valante, who is here for BKP, the implementation institution of the project on the managerial part. He has been here with us, all of us. They are taking care of everything that goes well, and you can see he's still standing as a police watching out if everything goes well. Yeah, I thank all of you. God bless you. I wish you safe journey home. And for the ones who are still enjoying Mauritius, I think we are part of the group that gonna still enjoy because we achieved a lot. Yes. Thank you, and I declare this meeting closed.